Now, the Electoral Amendment Bill has been adopted this afternoon by the National Assembly. The revisions to the existing Act follows a Constitutional Court ruling in 2020 that decided individuals should be allowed to stand in provincial and national elections without the support of a political party. But there's strong criticism for the amended bill, with critics saying the dice is actually loaded against individuals who may want to run in those national elections. Well, I'm joined now by Mudzuli Rakhivhane, who speaks for Build One SA. It's a political party recently launched by Mmusi Maimane, and it is linked to the NGO, which is One South Africa. That, of course, is a platform that supports individual candidates. She joins us now. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. So this bill has been approved in Parliament. It's still got to go through the NCOP and be signed off by the President. But essentially, is it a fait accompli now?
Basically, we have done, and when I say we, I mean many civic organizations have done everything we possibly can over the last 2 years to try to get Parliament to pass a sensible bill that not only just accommodated independent candidates, that made it fair and equal for them to participate, but also brought us the meaningful and necessary electoral reform that we actually need in this country. So we've been working with them side by side for the last 2 years. And like you said, the NA has passed it. It's going to go through the NCOP, and there will be a public participation process. But if the public participation process of the NA is anything to go by, then it's basically going to be a rubber stamp exercise. And then ultimately it will be up to the President to use his conscience, but also his own legal training to do the right thing and send this back to the NA. And then hopefully we can have a proper, meaningful engagement with them again.
All right, so my understanding, and this is where I'm going to rely on your expertise, is that when the ConCourt judgment came through in 2020, which was lauded because it means that you can directly elect a potential president or head of a province, for example, but the majority view of the ConCourt judgment was with a mixed system, which would see, say, 200 National Assembly seats would be for individuals directly to be elected, not linked to any political party, the other 200 from this proportional representation or the list system. And this mixed system is what we've got at local government. So my understanding is that was the majority view of the ConCourt judgment. The minority view, which is a lot more complicated to explain, so I'm not even going to try, but it seems that individuals are going to have to compete with political parties in a way. And the concern is that that's what's in the current bill. Am I right? And if so, what is in the bill that's so problematic?
Right. So just the first point, that the minority and majority views did not come from the Constitutional Court because they are not legislators. So what the Constitutional Court did is to say to Parliament, not allowing independent candidates to participate in the system at all is unconstitutional. And now it's up to you as the lawmakers to come up with a new system that also then incorporates independent candidates. That is then where Parliament comes in. So the minister then appointed what we call a ministerial advisory committee. And that committee's job was to advise the minister on what is the best system that South Africa can use in order to incorporate independent candidates in our system. They then came up with a majority and a minority report. And I'm going to get into trouble for calling them majority and minority reports by the minister, but that's what they are essentially. Now, report number 1 is what we call the majority report. And that basically is a system that says, let's overhaul this entire system. Let's introduce a constituency-based system which allows us to actually directly elect our own leaders on a 300 basis, which says 300 of your candidates will be directly elected, and then on a 100 basis, which says that will then come off a PR list. Now, the issue that we have is that the minister decided we're not going to follow the majority report. We're going to follow the minority report, which basically just tries to do as little as possible to change the system and try to sneakily incorporate independent candidates. And that is where the problem is, because number 1, without introducing a constituency-based system, you basically lump independent candidates and political parties into one messy ballot. And that then means that number 1, independent candidates only have access to 200 seats. Political parties have reserved exclusively for themselves 200 seats in parliament. Number two, with lumping them all together, it means that independent candidates have to get double the amount of votes for the same single seat as a member of parliament would. For example, a member of parliament through a political party would need 40,000 seats to get one seat. An independent candidate competing for the same seat would need about 80,000 seats just to get a single seat. So those are some of the issues that have come up from the minister deciding to draft a bill based on a minority view, which, by the way, has literally been untested. There's no other country in the world that will run this electoral system except for us, which tells you everything you need to know about it.
So what is this bill, which basically is a fait accompli, it's going to go into law, what does it mean for the 2024 elections?
That is an excellent question. So basically, unless the president sends it back to Parliament and says, Parliament, this is unconstitutional, which is his constitutional right to do so, and asks them to fix it, it means that organizations and individuals are most likely going to have to take this to the Constitutional Court and tell the Constitutional Court that this bill is unconstitutional, which means that will bring force the Constitutional Court to then read in provisions in order for us to have an election on time in 2024, which is a terrible position for the court to be in, because now you're asking the judiciary to be legislators on something that's actually a very heavy political issue. Or alternatively, which is also a massive issue, the Constitutional Court would be forced to send it back to the legislatures. And that is also a problem, because the IEC has already gone an affidavit to the Constitutional Court to say they need a certain amount of time in order to make sure that they can change all of their systems, change their ballots in order to be ready for an election by the time 2024 rolls around. So litigation is the worst case scenario, and that is why we've been trying so hard to lobby Parliament to make sure that we don't get to that stage, because then we're all losing.
So I have to ask you, Mmusi Maimane was the leader of the Democratic Alliance. He left as leader of the Democratic Alliance. For the last few years, he's been involved in this NGO, One South Africa, which is a platform to support individuals at any tier of government who want to run for office. Just recently, and of course this is the group that you're part of, he's launched Build One South Africa, which is a political party. The fact that he's established a political party, is that because he's seen the writing on the wall that this bill loads the dice against individuals, so you might as well be part of a political party?
Exactly. And the last thing that you would want is for incredible leaders, candidates that we've been working with, candidates that we've been unearthing, to not participate in the 2024 election because the electoral system is stacked up against them. So the purpose and the reason why we made this formation is to say all of the people who wanted to participate as independents, all of the people who wanted to be newcomers in the system, come under this one umbrella body. Let's get into Parliament. And once you're actually in Parliament, then you're able to better influence these bills. We've had a torrid time from sitting on the outside trying to influence Parliament, because you can only do so much lobbying. So one of the key principles of this organization will be to work on electoral reform from inside Parliament, as we've been trying to do from outside of Parliament.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So much clarity. I have so much understanding after you explaining it all to us. Much appreciate your time. Mudzuli Rakhivhane, she speaks for Build One SA. It's a political party that was recently formed by Mmusi Maimane, commenting today on the fact that the Electoral Amendment Bill has been passed by the National Assembly. It's really just a hop, skip and a jump now before the President is likely to sign it into law, and it will have implications for the 2024 elections.